Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Kimberly Hoeppner, and today is May 8th, 2014. When we're not on air, you can always check us out on arh.noaa.gov, or if you'd like to get your information via the phone line, you can call 1-800-472-0391. We're also on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Now on to the news of the day for the rivers across the state. Looking at the map, you can see that most of the areas in the central and southern parts of the state are all open, except across the Yukon Delta area and just along the Brooks Range and north. So, like I said, most of the rivers are open across much of the state, and there is no ice jam to report at this time and no flooding to be alerted for this afternoon. And you can look across the state here. What I have up is the fire danger map that we're going to be looking at for tomorrow and the next day. In the areas highlighted in orange, these are areas where you should be cautious as we head into a warmer trend in this upcoming weekend. Everything is going to be drying out across the area, and there'll be heightened fire danger and extreme heightened fire danger across the eastern parts of the Kenai and parts of South Central. So be on the alert for relative humidities drying out, and also potential for this weekend as the entire state dries out. There will be potential for the southeast, but it doesn't look until the beginning of next week. So be aware and make sure you pass on to your friends. Make sure that you don't leave fires unattended, and you make sure that they're completely out, as we don't want to have any forest fires across the state or across, anywhere where you live. And now looking on the weather systems, in the outlook for the western parts of the Bering, there's a low pressure system that's spinning some low to mid-level clouds up through the central parts of the Bering, and low pressure will continue to push this up, so you can watch the pull of the moisture up into the Bering all the way towards the Bering Strait, putting that into circulation. Not a very strong system, but enough just to bring some moisture and weak energy to bring some scattered rain showers across the central towards the western part of the Aleutians. Across the northern Pacific, a ridge is just to the south, well south of the area, but we do have ridging that's building across the eastern Aleutians and back towards the Alaska Peninsula. Let's take a look at this closer to home. Looking at this map, you can see clear skies across or just south of the eastern part of the Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula. Some clearing out across the southwest today. Some clouds and stratus are rotating around a low pressure system. As you head towards the southeast, you can watch a counterclockwise motion around this. This is pulling some moisture across the northern Gulf Coast areas, and also helping to push some clouds and a weak wave of energy, sending a disturbance up towards Yakutat. Further to the north across the Arctic areas, mainly cloud cover here with some light snow reported along the eastern Beaufort Sea coast as a cold front has pushed into the Arctic coast, and we'll look at that in just a moment. Now here's today's map. The low pressure system just south of the Gulf of Alaska is just mainly bringing a lot of cloud cover. Some light shower activity is mainly south of the Dixon entrance. Not to say we won't see some isolated shower activity this evening, but none has been reported yet this afternoon, as the air mass has been fairly worked over with the rain that we had yesterday. So it's a little bit drier, but there is another wave of energy that's going to come across this evening and give mainly a chance of showers across the Copper River Basin, Alaska, range and just north up into the upper Yukon Valley areas perhaps. And along the northern coastal areas, they'll continue to see snow as a weak frontal boundary is lying across the Brooks Range area towards the Bering Strait. This stationary front is draped all the way towards that low pressure system that's sitting out west of the western parts of the Bering. A cold front, weak as it is going to push some rain showers up this afternoon, and they were just to the south of the western part of the chain here. And then we have ridging, a fairly strong ridge, 1027 millibars, and this high pressure is just situated to the south of the eastern part of the Aleutians. And here's those clearing skies up through Kodiak in the southwest, bringing some nice warm temperatures here today. And this ridge is building right across the Bristol Bay as well. Now for your forecast for tonight, this low pressure system across the western Bering is going to push a little bit further north, bringing the rain showers on up through towards the central part of the Bering. Some light showers are possible across the Pribilofs, but as you go further north towards St. Lawrence Island, with snow chances with some patchy fog, as the stationary boundary is still continuing across the northwestern coast. Near the Kotzebue Sound, some light showers all around the Seward Peninsula and north. Now across the interior areas of the state, chance to see some clearing skies in a few areas. A weak disturbance may bring some light shower activity just along the southwestern coastal areas. Some gusty winds across the Alaska Peninsula overnight as this northwest flow just picks up in between the pressure gradient of this low pressure that's out in the Gulf and high pressure in the area of the Alaska Peninsula. Now looking across the southeast, it's possible that they'll see another light shower overnight, but not anything that'll be measurable, just light showers along the southeast and along the eastern part of the Alaska Range. Now as we head into your Friday, that low pressure system will move off into the southeast. Lingering chance of showers in the morning, should clear later on in the afternoon. We'll have some offshore flow develop across the northern coast as this high pressure northwest flow is going to be move across the western parts of the Gulf as we head into your Friday. And this pressure gradient will tighten along the northern coast and western areas, so chance to see some gusty winds on your Friday. Across the interior, weak pressure regimes as everything is transitioning. We're going to be moving into high pressure across the interior areas of the state, low pressure just in the northern parts of the Gulf. Now the high pressure is moving off as this weak cold front continues to stay locked in across the Brooks Range and north. That'll bring additional chances for isolated snow showers as we head through your day on Friday. The stationary front will stay in place across the northern Bering, bringing some light mix of rain and snow across St. Lawrence Island, with a changeover to rain towards the Pribilofs, but this rain will be very light and not measurable. The western parts of the Bering will see some light showers as well. Some clouds continue to stream on up ahead of that low pressure system out west, and high pressure will continue to build slightly stronger into the Alaska Peninsula. And then there's a chance for some patchy fog to develop across the southwest and western coasts during the morning, but that should improve as we go along your day on Friday. And on your Saturday, expect this cold front to stay wedged in here across the northern parts of the state, light snow showers continuing on through the northwestern areas. High pressure will continue across the eastern parts of the Bering. Everything across the central interior areas will probably clear out and allow areas to get very warm. Actually, on Friday and Saturday, it'll be very warm days this weekend. As we head into next week, we'll be seeing very much the same thing every day. Cold temperatures along the north and warmer and drier as we head into your weekend. Now, across the western parts of the Bering, we'll see some light showers as that cold front stays out to the west, and then low pressure developing here on Friday. Depending on the strength and its position, those winds might gust through your day on Saturday. So keep an eye out for the wind conditions across the Prince William Sound and Kenai as we head through towards the end of the week. Now the southeast will become much drier as well. Low pressure is going to diminish here, and skies will clear and it'll get very warm. So there's going to be a potential fire danger as we head into the weekend, but more likely the beginning of your week. for your next work week. Looking at your temperatures today, it did get very warm across the state. We had mid-50s where we had extensive cloud cover in the southeast towards the Dixon entrance, but we broke out of the clouds across the Panhandle area, and Chilkoot and White Pass and Haines had seen 65 this afternoon shortly after I had posted these temperatures on this map. Across the northern parts of the Gulf, temperatures were in the mid-50s to lower 60s, and then a slow decrease as you head towards the interior with temperatures in the mid-40s. Along the Arctic coast, very cold temperatures didn't improve much from this morning, with temperatures only reaching up to 19 degrees. And, well, actually, they had reached up to 24 degrees this afternoon at Kaparik. And then around the northwestern coastal areas in the mid-20s, a slow trend towards freezing across the Seward Peninsula. So slightly warmer than yesterday. The southwest saw temperatures in the upper 30s and lower 40s. The southwest, the Kuskokwim Valley area in the lower 50s. Across the Bristol Bay, temperatures were in the lower 50s, and Alaska Peninsula just starting to clear now. They reached up into the low to mid 40s. Across the central and western parts of the Bering, we saw temperatures in the upper 30s to lower 40s as colder temperatures were coming in with that cold front out towards the west. Now looking at your temperatures for tonight, not much change across the Aleutian chain, with temperatures in the upper 30s. Across the southwest, temperatures will mainly be in the upper 30s, with a changeover into the 20s across the central interior and along the northwestern coast, and very cold temperatures again down into the teens along the Arctic coast. Across the southwest, another night into the upper 30s and the mid 40s. Now for tomorrow, your temperatures are going to soar up into the mid-60s across the southeast. Along the Arctic coast, we'll see temperatures in the mid-60s and possibly near 70 in a few locations. Still a little bit cooler across the central interior as winds are going to be calm and this colder air mass just is settled just to the north along the Brooks Range. Temperatures will climb into the mid-20s at least across the north and northwest, and into the upper 30s to mid-40s as you head towards the Bristol Bay area. We'll see temperatures spiking here up in the lower 50s. Now across the Alaska Peninsula, very similar to today, in the upper 40s to lower 50s, with cooler temperatures as you head towards the western part of the Bering. Now looking at your flying weather for tomorrow, most concern is going to be across the coastal areas in the Bering, where this low pressure system is bringing a lot of clouds. They'll have some morning fog here across the west coast and the southwest, but that should clear by the afternoon. We'll stay socked in clouds across MVFR and IFR conditions across the northeastern Beaufort seacoast. And across the Gulf area, until that low pressure system moves inland, we'll possibly see some MVFR conditions in the morning. Now looking at your passes in more depth tomorrow, Antuvik Pass will be VFR, and Adigan Pass will be VFR as well. And Lake Charles and Merrill Pass will be VFR, and will be VFR at Rainy Pass and Windy Pass as well. And then Isabel Pass, VFR. Good conditions tomorrow. Mentasta will go MVFR to VFR, and Tanita Pass will be VFR. These are summer-like conditions. This is Portage VFR for tomorrow, and Chilkoot and White Pass will also be VFR. Now the freezing levels across the area are draped across the northern parts of the Bering and through the central parts of the state, and then the 2,000-foot freezing level just south of the Brooks Range and 4,000 feet towards the northern coast. A little bit higher, 6,000 along the southeast and across the Bering. It varies from 2,000 to 8,000 as you head towards the Alaska Peninsula. Now the icing tomorrow is mainly going to be off the coast in the Bering, above 3,000 and below 12,000, and across the northern Arctic areas and northwest below 5,000. And then some light possible icing in the morning, mainly below 12,000, above 3,000 across the southern Alaska Gulf. Jet stream flow for tomorrow is mainly a westerly flow between 50 and 75 knots across the northern parts of the state, very weak flow. Across the southern interior, the main jet stream is well south of Alaska here and at 110 knots out of the west. So all the steering flow is going to be pushing the systems either just here along the western Bering and just to the south of the Aleutian chain. Yeah. Now the 9,000-foot winds, you can see the high pressure system is along the Alaska Peninsula, only weak flow, change of direction here, 20 to 30 knots. And then across the Gulf areas, offshore flow is going to be developing very weak between 10 and 15 knots. Across the state, we have some westerly flow with the strongest flow across the Bering areas between 30 and 50 knots, the strongest winds out of the southwest as you head towards the Bering Strait. And the same picture at the 3,000-foot level, a southwesterly flow all across towards the northwestern parts of the state, change of direction around the Bering, but very weak flow except around the central Bering between 30 and 35 knots. Offshore flow will be between 10 and 20 knots, and then across the Gulf and southeast, very light flow out of the north between 10 and 15 knots. Tomorrow's turbulence, well, we're clear of turbulence across much of the state, and then as we look towards the Bering, that's where the turbulence will be mainly confined, and then across the Bering Strait as well. And these are all going to be below 8,000 feet. Now, in just a moment, I'll be back with your marine forecast, so stay with us, please.
May is your month to see Mercury. Hey there, stargazers. I'm Dean Regas, astronomer for the Cincinnati Observatory.
And I'm James Albury, director of the Kika Silva Pla Planetarium in Gainesville, Florida. We're here to help you find your way around the sky. Quick, Dean, what are the 5 naked eye planets?
Okay, there's Venus, Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, and Mercury.
Excellent job. And I'm glad you mentioned Mercury last because it's the toughest of the 5 to find.
I know, it's so close to the sun that you can only catch it at certain times of the year, just before sunrise or just after sunset.
May is often a great month to catch Mercury after sunset. And this May, you'll have a week or 2 to look for it along with Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn.
Let's show you. Okay, we have our sky set to Monday, May 12th, looking west-northwest. We can just start to see the brightest stars popping out.
There's bright white Jupiter high in the west. I hope you've gotten to know Jupiter since it's been up all spring. We get to see Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, and Venus for long stretches of time, night after night or morning after morning.
But Mercury is shifty and speedy. It only pokes its head above the horizon for a few days at a time. It was no wonder that the ancient Greeks likened it to the winged god who is fast flying and fast talking.
To see Mercury in the sky, you'll need a clear, flat horizon to the west and northwest, free of trees or buildings. Do you see that little dot just above the horizon? Well, that's Mercury. To see it, you have to time it just right. If you look too early, the glare of the sun's rays will wash it out. If you look too late, like 30 minutes later, it will have set below the horizon.
Let's advance the time now day by day, and we can watch how Mercury wanders up. Here it is, same time of night, but on May 13th. Here it is on May 14th, May 15th, May 16th, and May 17th. So each day, Mercury will be just a bit higher and easier to catch.
Well, kinda. Each day, Mercury will get farther and farther from us, so it will appear dimmer and dimmer. But since it will be higher in the sky, you may catch it earlier and be able to watch it set in a darker sky.
Wow, that Mercury is tricky.
I know.
I mentioned the 5 planets you can find with the naked eye. You may wonder, do they ever line up? Well, almost. For a few days in May 2002, you could see Jupiter, Venus, Mars, Saturn, and Mercury all in the same part of the sky after sunset.
It wasn't exactly a planetary alignment, more of a planet clump. And that was definitely an amazing planet clump. The next time that we'll get all 5 planets clumped together will be in the year 2040. But this year, you can find all 5 naked eye planets if you're patient.
So we're back to the future sky. It's May 22nd at around 10 p.m. There's Mercury really low in the sky. Dazzlingly bright Jupiter is up and to the left.
Then if we turn toward the south, we can find the red planet Mars high up in the sky.
And if we turn and face southeast, we come to the ring planet Saturn, looking like a yellow-colored star about a third of the way up in the sky.
Well, we're still missing one planet, Venus. While you can see 4 planets in the evening sky at one time, you'll have to wait a few hours for Venus to come around.
Look to the east just before sunrise every May morning and you can't miss her. Venus is the most brilliant planet and worth waking up early for. So there you have it. When and where to look for the most elusive planet, Mercury.
As well as the 4 other naked eye planets. Now, Dean, I think I should point out there are actually 6 naked eye planets.
6.
Of course, you can't forget the Earth.
Yeah, that is true. I do see the Earth all the time.
Pretty much every day.
But to see the 5 planets in the sky this week, you have to
Keep looking up.
Okay, now from looking up at the sky, let's look down at the ice. Okay, so here's the updated ice map from yesterday, and there's a little bit of a breaking up between Unalakleet and Ammonich, but other than that, very much the same across the area, still in ice across the northwest and Arctic coastal areas and the northern parts of the Bering, including St. Matthew and a little area around St. Matthew and St. Lawrence. Now looking at the forecast for your Marines for the southeast on Friday, a northerly flow primarily across the inner and outer waters between 10 and 20 knots, inner channels 2 to 3 feet with the waves, and then 5 to 7 feet across the outer waters. And as we head into your Saturday, a lighter winds all across the area out of the west and northwest, variable as you head up towards Yakutat. Inner channels will be a 2-foot sea, and then across the outer waters between 3 and 5 feet. Looking at your south central and western part of the Gulf, we'll see a northwesterly flow all across the area between 15 and 25 knots. Small craft advisory across the western parts of the Gulf, Shelikof Strait, Barren Islands. And then your seas will be 3 feet in the Prince William Sound, 3 to 7 across the western part of the Gulf, 3 feet across the Cook Inlet, and 7 to 8 feet across the Barren Islands, and 5 feet across Shelikof Strait. On Saturday, primarily a northerly flow offshore, and then we'll see 15 to 20 knots primarily with a slightly stronger wind across the west, 25 knots, small craft here. Seas will be between 4 and 6 feet, and across the western Gulf, 3 to 5 feet across the Cook Inlet, Shelikof Strait, and then along the Prince William Sound, 3 feet as well. Alaska Peninsula will see winds out of the northwest tomorrow between 10 and 20 knots. Seas on the Bering side 3 to 4 feet, and then 5 feet across the northern Pacific. And then on your Saturday forecast, still a northerly to northwesterly flow between 10 and 15 knots. Seas between 3 and 4 feet all across the Bering and the northern Pacific. Now for the Aleutians on Friday, look for winds to be strongest across the central and western Aleutians, and 25 knots and a small craft advisory here. And then as you head towards the Alaska Peninsula, slightly weaker winds between 10 and 15, all out of the south and southwest. Seas will be 9 feet across the central and western Aleutians, and on towards the east between 4 and 7 feet. For your Saturday forecast, a lighter winds across the eastern part of the Aleutians between 10 and 20 knots, varied as you head towards the far eastern part of the Aleutians, and 20 knots across the central Aleutians, 25 knots as you head out towards Shemya. So a rather quiet day, and then we'll see 8 to 6 feet in wave heights across the western and central areas of the Aleutians, and between 4 and 7 feet across the eastern Aleutians. Now looking at your southwest and west coast areas, winds will be out of the south primarily, small craft towards the northern parts of the Bering at 25 knots and then 15 to 20 knots as you head further south. Seas will be between 4 and 8 feet. Highest seas will be across the St. Matthew Island. And now on Saturday, slightly weaker winds out of the south between 10 and 20 knots, and seas will be between 4 and 7 feet. As we look at your northern and northwestern coastal areas, Kotzebue Sound out of the south and southeasterly flow across much of the northwest, and then the Beaufort Seacoast will see winds out of the east at 10 to 15 knots. Of course, it's all ice covered, so we don't have any waves to talk about here. And across your forecast on Saturday, a little bit stronger wind across the Kotzebue Sound, 20 knots here out of the southwest, and then a southerly flow across the rest of the northwestern coastal areas and northern coast between 10 and 15 knots. Looking at your forecast one more time for tonight, looking for that low pressure to move on into the southeast, just brings some possible isolated shower activity. Not much to measure for the overnight period, and then clearing skies across much of the central parts of the interior. Flurries across the Arctic coastal areas in the northwest, as the stationary boundary is going to be remaining across the Bering Strait and the western part of the Aleutians. A little bit more rain activity popping up across the western Aleutians. Gusty winds should be coming down across the Alaska Peninsula overnight, with high pressure building into the eastern part of the Aleutians. Now, as we head into your forecast for Friday, high pressure is going to be the dominant system moving in towards the southwest. So we'll see clear skies mainly across the south, central, and southwestern areas. Patchy morning fog across Bristol Bay, light flurries across the north and northwest, possible light morning showers across the southeast with patchy fog clearing as we head on through the day. And a look at your Saturday forecast, we're going to be warming up as we head towards the weekend. Well, we'll see. Have a great night.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.